Is Trekland HQ. So let's go live. Wow. Whiplash week. Star Trek bitters, Yuri's night joy, Artemis awakening, and clickbaiters bored. Today on episode 444, 444, Lucky Trip 4s of Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Larry Nemechek, Dr. Trek, coming to you here for a bit of our weekly, just a touch of our sanity, clarity, and a big picture in all things Star Trek. Glad you could join us, and glad I could let you know that yes, we are counting down. If you have not thought about it, if you're thinking about it, we are cutting off registration at May 1st. We still need about 5 folks to make for the Exploring Trek sites, LA to Vegas location site. This is the big multi-day tour. Terrace at Geek Nation Tours, and I have not done this since the 50th. Little things like pandemic, life got in the way. First time in 10 years. I'm excited because, for one thing, who knows what's going to happen to historic Paramount's lot if all those pristine 60s and 80s and 90s and aughts locations may be changed up, remodeled, heaven forbid, even sold, although Ellison say they're holding on to both the Warners and the Paramount lot, assuming the Warners deal does go through. Yes! If you're thinking about it, if you know someone who would like to, please get in touch. GeekNationTours.com. You can find the 5-day multi-site, but small. We're limited to 20 folks. It's a tiny window. With Tim, with Armin, with Sirach, and with Bobby, and one more actor to be named, joining us at different times relative to what they did on location. It's a great moment. It's a great fun, and it's a great way to get yourself to Vegas if you're going. But again, you don't have to be attending the Vegas convention. You'll wind up in Vegas. Or you can. Actually, if you can get yourself home from northwest of LA, you don't have to go to Vegas. Call yourself an Uber from out there. No, I also to know there's a 1-day Valley of Fire tour available on Con Eve Tuesday. Leaves early in the morning, gets out to where Admiral Kirk met his actual end on Viridian 3, aka the Valley of Fire State Park. 1 hour north of Las Vegas, up to 15 and over. Hey, everybody. Yes. I'm talking about the big Geek Nation Tours, LA to Vegas location trip, because we're counting down on that. But otherwise, this week, so much is happening and it's all over the map that I know this is a cautionary tale to try to cram so much into one space, but I feel like that's where we are. So I'm going to do it. I know some of the other of your friendly YouTubers, you go through the news every week. I try to stick to a topic that makes sense. But right now, it's not just that here's a list of news. It's here's a list of news, and here's how I think we're all feeling. Although I'd like to say there's a little bit of the positive over the negative. What were those adjectives I mentioned? Joy, awakening, and boredom. And a little letdown, too. So, look, yes, it's Dr. Trek. I hope you know your way around Trekland Tuesdays Live. But if you are new, welcome, welcome. Of course, we want to have you new. I do it this time of Tuesday so we can have folks from all over the world join us. I do Tuesday because it's alliteration, and Thursday was often a travel day. Tuesday made more sense. So Tuesday, Trekland Live. We're here to get as much of the globe in as we can. And let me point out, I appreciate it if you can join us on YouTube. I see YouTube is strong, and so is Facebook. YouTube is where you can see all the comments. And if you feel so motivated, I always appreciate the support. We are super chatted, so you can throw a little coinage our way. It helps out with my burgeoning streaming empire. But most of all, this time of day, we have folks from all over the world, as you'll see. And I just think it's a better mix of people in conversation. And I appreciate everybody that supports us and joins us. I have a Patreon. I'll tell you about that. But you can super chat at times if you appreciate it. Now, the last few weeks, we've had, I should say too, if you're joining us later, not live, I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. Leave a comment. You can still keep the conversation going. There's always plenty of conversation with this chat pack. If you're new, though, let us know where you're coming from. How's the weather? How's the trek where you are? If you're lurking, that is totally fine. Totally fine. You can pop your head up whenever you feel like it. I have people that have been joining Patreon and signaling me on other messages and boards, and they say, "Oh, I watch all the time." And I'm like, "Oh, you do?" And they're like, "Well, I never say that." So howdy to everybody, no matter where you are and what's going on in your corner of the world. And yes, I think for 4 of the last 5 weeks, I've had a guest, which is awesome. And we've had a great time of it. Some things may come out of those guest sessions. But today I knew we would come back around to this. And as some of these events recently piled up, I just felt like the effects have piled up. So yeah, jump into the chat if you haven't yet. I'm going to talk here for just a minute. This may be shorter than normal just because a mishmash. There is a focus to this, but I may touch on several things. Then we will take a micro break, and then I will dive into the chat full bore. So just because I'm not looking at everybody straight on, if you're new to TTL, does not mean that I won't get back to it. We'll do is I will back scroll if I can, if we haven't, if the chat hasn't overloaded. I will go back to the beginning of my chat window and we will take it through. I appreciate everybody being here with old Dr. Trek. I'm so behind. The world is, I don't know, the world is just slowing us down. It's like a break on your momentum, on your forward motion. These last 2 and 3 chaotic, insane, yes, destructive and harmful years. I'm talking politics. Shout out to our friends in Hungary who actually were allowed to vote out an autocrat. I'm still amazed that they got rid of Orban. They were allowed to get rid of Orban. So I have faith here. But that aside, I have to say, and the world, much less our poor country, was transfixed by the Artemis 2 mission. And I'm seeing it on 2 levels. Well, 3 levels. Coming down the pike, the part of me that is still there, little kid me, I always say I was a NASA kid before I was a Star Trek fan, because that's the way they came. I had intellectually been excited, but I hadn't had time. We're working, we're doing things. Life is still get stuff done, get deadlines. And, my life is still settling down from a positive change or move and how that's rippled across everything I do and want to do. And then, new opportunities coming along. You're always on the run, on the gun, nursing things along. And I felt thrilled to see how it was going. But knowing that this has been in the works for so long, I'm not just talking about the Artemis program and just the vision and the goal and what is going to happen and how are we going back to Mars and Moon and how the hell it took 50-something years for us to get back to the Moon. All of that. You can be angry about that. You can be frustrated, but here we are. It's in our face. Finally. And if you're frustrated that they didn't actually land on the moon, but they just went out around, I know. In the 60s, in the space race, we were racing the end of the decade, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. Thank you, John F. Kennedy. We were having Apollo missions every 3 months. And that's after the fire. And we took a year and a half out. We tested the Apollo command and service modules in Earth orbit. There were the Apollo 1 went by, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 were just Saturn V and Saturn 1B tests and equipment tests, all uncrewed, unmanned, as we used to say. Apollo 7 tested the lowliest of the Apollos as far as fame goes. They tested the command and service modules out in Earth orbit, which sounds like nothing, but it was very nervy after the last time you'd tried to put people in space. There'd been a fire. So a nervy moment. And then, of course, Apollo 8 tested everything to the moon without a landing. And then Apollo 9 added in the lunar lander module. But testing it in Earth orbit, all the rendezvous and docking you had to do to, flip around, pull the limb out of the shroud from the top of the... Oh, I was such a NASA kid. I'm forgetting my designations, except the third stage was the S4B. You had the S1, the S2, and not the S3, but the S4B, which later the spares from all the canceled Apollos, Apollo 18, 19, and 20, especially Apollo 18, well, they were used for Apollo Soyuz, but the S4B was basically the hull of Skylab, our first space station, for 3 Apollo flights and then discarded. I know. But everything was reusing. Oh my God, reuse those bits and pieces. 9 tested the limb in Earth orbit. 10 tested the limb in lunar orbit. And then 11 finally was the landing mission. And then we had landers all the way through, aside from bittersweet Apollo 13, which was a miracle in itself. And then we got the rovers, et cetera, et cetera. And then we hadn't been back. Sorry for the little Apollo mission. My Apollo kid got engaged. And why? It's fine. It's, you can look at the past. What did Admiral Vance say in my favorite line from all of Discovery? The past is the only way we have to illuminate the future. I think that's right. Or the past is the only way we have to illuminate the future. Right. When Emerald Chain Queen wanted to say, why are you looking backward? Let's just deal with the here and now, which was also sage advice for our time. Oh no, don't discard the past. Otherwise, he who forgets the past is doomed to repeat it, in other words. We brought so much of that forward. And this NASA kid was nostalgicing the hell out of hearing all the old acronyms and all the old terms. And yes, it's updated technology and updated vehicles, and some processes were different, but it was just joyful. But you know what? More people enjoyed the hell out of this. What am I saying? We're inspired. We're thrilled with joy over this. All the younger people that had never got to know what this was like. And the space shuttles, amid their tragedy, did so much to normalize space and normalize the technologies and materials that we need. And yet, they were just the truck in space and Earth orbit. I know. I'm not putting anything down. That was what we used to go, that spirit of high adventure. And yes, for people who say, we're just doing the same thing we did in 1968, this is just Apollo 8 again. Yes, but a new era, new generation, new technologies, new vehicles to transit. So, aside from all of that, the fundamental thing that the Apollo program never had to deal with was, I'm just going to say this, I feel like we've had a whole generation forgot what competency looked like, watching what science in action looked like. Not these just things you debate or get politicized or you ignore, or you actually watched what a huge government-run program did when you have smart people, a meritocracy, and a meritocracy which included, the first person of color to be at the moon, the first woman to be at the moon, our first Canadian astronaut, the first non-American to be at the moon, and the oldest person to be at the moon. And that was not lost on a world which is not the world of the 70s and 60s culturally. It's an outgrowth of those worlds. But science, public media, public awareness, culture. was just overloaded by all the feels. And then the way that crew was just so human. The science and the humanity mixing, it was not just nostalgia, but I feel like it was an awakening for people who'd never seen that in action, and it was a reawakening for everybody who might have almost forgotten when they were kids or young adults what that world looked like that we took for granted and walked away from for 52 years. So yes, there was an Artemis awakening effect. In fact, one of my favorite now, whether it was TikTok or Reels on Instagram, whatever, and I don't know her name, but she very quietly was just an average person scrolling her phone, talking to herself, saying, what? And going through all those highs that I just mentioned. What just happened? Competent people, smart people, put together a huge project from the government with a person of color in charge and doing the job, and a woman and of power and influence, and people from and global effort, and no racism, no bullshit, no misogyny, no name calling, no escaping blame, no overly taking credit. Just competent people doing a job. Why can't we do more of this? It was the essence. It was very well edited and cut together. Maybe you've seen it. I feel like that's what kind of was the shock to the system. How sad is that we have to reset our bar back where it used to be? But I feel like that was just encapsulating so much of where people are. So much of where people are. It was amazing timing because it just so happened here in LA that the next day was this year's edition, the 25th edition, actually, the 25th anniversary of Yuri's Night. Now, this is a program begun by a bunch of grad school kids in science and space in LA 25 years ago. Loretta and her bunch started in LA, but it's meant to be, there are others around the world. Science kids, college kids, science museums, planetariums, places not just around the States, but around the world. There have been global. Yuri's Night is tied to the anniversary of the first human in space, Yuri Gagarin. So it's irrespective of borders. There's no nationalism here. It's about humans. We try to erase the borders and remember humans. And we try to remember humans as nothing but crew members on Spaceship Earth. And that sounds lofty and idealistic, but boy, apparently the world is hungry for it. 25th anniversary, Yuri's Night happens every year, hell or high water, or remodels or not. But it just seems so especially fitting this year. If you haven't had a chance to, Yuri's Night's here in LA. It's for many years now been at the Science Center, but with the construction around the shuttle there, bringing in the external tank, it went back to one of its prior homes, the old landmark classic Griffith Observatory. Yes, you know, where Freakosaurus and Tom Paris and Rain Robinson, Sarah Silverman. We go there on the big tour. I take a lot of folks there on Trekland Treks day tours. But we were outside and inside with the vendors and the speakers, keynote speakers by astronaut Jannica Nicholson, Norway's first astronaut. She is also a cinematographer, not on a NASA flight, but on one of the Dragon flights on SpaceX, the one that did the poles, first ever, many, many firsts, amazing person. And then the closing, Ron Guerin, who started off as a combat. He said, I started off thinking I might someday be shooting at Russians. And then I went on, I don't know, a shuttle trip and then an ISS space station tour with Russian colleagues. And he was talking about the live, everyone talking about basically some form of the overview effect, which is the term that Frank White, in his book of the same name, coined for the change that comes over your life-changing perspective. If you get to space, you never see Earth and humanity the same way because you've had that overview perspective. Just as almost every astronaut that goes to just gets to orbit, much less goes to the moon, but especially, and you could see how it touched America and touched the world, just as Apollo 8's Earthrise photo did. We had that same effect again for, I don't know, not just a generation. It feels like 2 generations that needed to hear and feel that again. And it was great because Frank White, who coined the term the overview effect, was get Frank to space. He's interviewed so many astronauts, written that book, written other books, chaired a panel. I want to get this right. Chris Huey, who is a Virgin Galactic engineer, amazing guy, amazing dynamic guy. And then Nadina Nicole from the cast of The Expanse, and talking about the inspirations. It was just a great night. That's the formal speakers. The observatory was open. There were vendors, people talking to friends with the camera on the space station. I've got to post this. There was just a tiny glimpse because of their orbits. The re-entry of Artemis 2, the Orion capsule, was barely glimpsed at the edge of orbit because they were going different directions, just to space nerd and space geek out again. But not just because of the space, because of the linkage with humanity and the arts and the same inspiration. Yes, the pendulum swings back and forth, but the same acknowledgement of inspiration that brings the 11-foot Enterprise to the opening gallery of the National Air and Space Museum, the Smithsonian's in DC, and so many other non-real but very real, inspiring aspects of science fiction and literature that inspire those who make we talk all the time. Our friend Glenn Swanson has his book, Inspiring Enterprise. He's been on here twice with me. And we've talked about that natural love affair between NASA and all sci-fi, but especially Star Trek. Yeah. Spock and Scotty and Data and B'Elanna. And go down the Janeway. Go down the list. Okay, Cisco, Picard, Data, Riker. Who am I missing out? Who am I leaving out? I'm sure Trip has inspired 1 or 2 engineers. All the Mutual Admiration Society. You inspired us. No, you inspired us. Oh no, come on, you inspired us. Talk to somebody who's in the trenches of NASA, not just people getting headlines. That effect is very much in effect too. And anyway, just a night to celebrate that every year on the Saturday closest to Yuri Gagarin's first flight, which, as Loretta pointed out, then 25 years later was the night of the very first space shuttle launch. Not the drop tests, but the actual first of Columbia's first launch was on April 12th. It was a great night as a human being to reset. Yes, it was the day after the Artemis return, and everyone was just so full of joy and wonder and excitement and feeling a reset. Feeling like a reset and a rededication and a recharge. And it was just great to see. We had, Trek people there. Bonnie Gordon, I'm so glad she's getting some recognition. Did one of her custom songs to welcome all the guests for the speakers. And again, this was more than the 2-hour speaker block. There was a reception afterwards for people. But the observatory is free for anyone. It's a city of LA owned free museum. Now you pay a ticket for the planetarium show, a couple of tickets to other special shows. And of course there was a special ticket for the reception after, but a chunk of all the booths and information out front and a lot of the people inside at the regular displays was all free. Special speakers spoke during the day. Speakers tied to Yuri's night who were not normally there. spoke during the day. So it was amazing. It took us 15 minutes to snake up the hill to get into park. I had VIP parking waiting for me, but we had to get up the little narrow road to get in. It's been that kind of a week. I'll take it. The general national global news there that kept everybody glued and focused and feeling good about themselves, maybe for them and the world, maybe for the first time in years. And then locally, and you should check the calendar because Yuri's night, even globally, nationally, is not just on that one night. There have been some earlier, there may be some later in the month. And bottom line is, if you want to organize a Yuri's night in your community, just look at, go to Yuri's night and find out how you too can get the material and the direction and the targeting and do something close to you. If you're near a science museum, if you're part of a volunteer group, if you're college affiliated with groups and have groups that have done events and you want to do something of some scale, it doesn't have to be as big as the HQ. I say all that because at the same time, yeah, we're still dealing with the fallout of not just the Academy cancellation, but the looming end of the Kurtzman era. And I know that brings all kinds of nuanced and not nuanced response, from people who are gutted to people who think, well, I could kind of see this coming, but nothing should be cut off ahead of its time, to people who are just gleeful. Or maybe people who aren't gleeful, but they impassively say, I think it was time. But whatever the spectrum holds, an honest reaction, an honest opinion, I'm all for respecting. You know what I say. It feels like, I don't know, the clickbaiters. It's been so odd to see, for one thing, the explosive news that kind of brings it home, and talk about Whiplash. I've talked about this off and on. The streaming era sets this up. Once it gets rolling, felt like forever for the first, and it was delayed. Horrible birthing process for Discovery's first episodes to finally get out. They were 5-6 months late. They were supposed to be out in May, didn't get out until September 2017. But once the machine is rolling, you kind of get into it, even though the machine is 1 year writing, 1 year filming, 1 year viewing, dropping, talking about it, finally being reviewed, with writers called on to talk about something from a year to 2 years, 18 months to 2 years earlier. And now you're seeing the other end of that. You're seeing shows canceled with episodes to go. And now comes the news, well, yeah, they don't need those shows are canceled. Just because you haven't seen them doesn't mean there's any need to keep empty stages and sets standing just so we wait for a year and a half and then we tear them down. No, they're down. They can be rented again. And apparently the bigger news is that there's no need for cannibalizing. There's no need for amortizing these sets because no year one, nothing from Toronto, which all but, as if this should be a shock to anyone, all but the end of the Kurtzman era, no renewal on a contract. If there hadn't been, but then say Academy was used as a bridge series until new owners, new bosses decided what to do with the streaming side. And I would dare say that a lot of those sets were film worthy, but they're sitting in Toronto. Do you want to film your movie in Toronto? Do you want to do you want to have all new everything? Because it's not the 80s and there is a collective corporate keep all the Star Trek stuff. So now, on top of the news about the cancellations and the sets being dismantled, wrapped, struck, we have news about an auction. Okay, like the Christie's auction, like the big corporately approved auction, like some of the auctions that we've seen over the years, the big ones. We're talking about set pieces. Is this also going to include, I don't know. Company in Toronto, though, is already designated to do it, already talking about it. No date, no catalog list of items. We don't know how do they go to props and costumes, or is this only chunky set pieces? Don't know yet publicly. But what we do know is this is very Canadian, very Toronto. If you live outside Ontario, the province, even if you're Canadian and live outside, you have to put deposits down for when it happens. They want you to register now. Star Trek auction, Star Trek Toronto auction, you'll find it. But it's even more if not a slap in the face, a reality check that the world's moving on. World's moving on. Again, it's a whiplash, but we've got 26 hours we haven't seen. Well, welcome to the new world. That's the way it goes. And I think that adds to not chaos, not upset, but just the feeling of not being grounded. Just the feeling of the mishigas feeling that we're having right now. This, slam back and forth, the whipsaw, if not whiplash. Shows are canceled. Sets are torn down. Auctions are happening. You could own a piece of a set that you haven't even seen on screen yet. And that's where we are. That's unsettling. Even if you're keeping up with the headlines and you're very pragmatic about it, it's still wacky. It's still unsettling. But you know who's really unsettled? And this is number 4 this week. Have you noticed? And again, free speech, free country, everybody do what you want to do. I just try to be a smarter consumer and pass that along. Caveat emptor. Have you noticed that some of the leading YouTubers who were all about beating the drum with the headlines about the demise, and news is news. I still say we don't know how to interpret a lot of this, that we don't have metrics. It's going to be years before a lot of what's really going on is out there. But sure, some people depend on knowing what's happening right now. All they can do and drum it up, scrape it up and get it out there and scream about it. It's the old take one sentence in an interview and blow up an 8 or 10 paragraph news story because that's the internet. But even more so, what do you do when there is no news? I just feel like I've watched 2 or 3 or 4 YouTubers who cross my radar. Power to them. They're not horrifically as toxic as some of the tubers out there in the past. Their headlines aren't screaming hate and kill and smash and whatever, disease, death. They come across as reasonable, but what they're really doing is just, oh my God. And then I have a friend who works in the industry, doesn't work in Star Trek, but he was in the industry, and here's how that normally works out. All I can tell you is the last 2 or 3 or 4 cycles of their videos that pop up, cross my path, they're saying the same thing over and over again. It's dawned on me. Do we have a case here of the dog finally caught the bus? Or the dog finally caught the car? Okay, Academy is canceled. I'm going to go out on a not very narrow limb here and say that I'm thinking they're not going to renew Alex's contract. Or he may have some vestige or whatever. Again, I talked to someone at WonderCon, not a suit, but somebody in the industry, talking about how desperately plentiful Alex's contract from 2015 was. Abundantly plentiful out of desperation by the studio, trying to get a Trek launched in a world that was rapidly changing. And how that contract would never stand scrutiny. No one would ever renew those terms again. And that fits in with a lot of what we're hearing, but it's going to be a while. I had understood that contract ended in October. Some people say there's always been this July, August, September, October. But by late summer, we would know. And it looks like the writing's on the wall now. People moving on. I mean, I don't mean the show people. I mean the core hub corporate offices. And even it's a different era. People don't want to think about this, but even the news that J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot had not had hits lately, movies or TV, and they were shutting down the LA offices and consolidating back east. And I know that brings a lot of mirth and glee to folks. But come on, guys, it's been 20 years. Give it up. The world's moved on. What I've noticed, though, is, okay, the dust is settled. Now what do? It's kind of like the news channels after an election. 9 months of pounding the mic and pounding the screen and pounding the desk. And now what do? And, ratings always dip for those news channels after an election. I feel like that's kind of what we're in the situation here. What are these guys going to talk about? Something organic and material besides the great Star Trek chase, the great Star Trek spiral, or not? And yeah, eventually we'll have news fast. Maybe somebody will have enough sense to get on the cycle of the summer cons, and somewhere between San Diego and New York Comic-Con in October, we'll start getting some updates and some planning. But just to note, the news yesterday that 1,000 actor, writer, directors, Hollywood notables signed a letter to FCC, FTC, what's left of regulation in DC these days, opposing the the P-Sky takeover of Warner Discovery after all. Is that too little too late? Is that like, screaming in the wind? Is that laughable? I don't know, but it's just a reminder that this is not a completely done deal yet, the takeover of Warner Discovery. And my fear that, apart from everything else you may be worried about, whether Star Trek becomes just one franchise in a sea of dozens and gets even less attention. We keep being told, somewhere somebody actually gets asked or told, oh, no, Star Trek's very big. David's a big Trek fan, co-produced those movies, along with saying David is not his father, and he just wants to be a mogul. And we may see an emphasis on movies more than series, but they want to keep the streaming channel alive, which makes me think they want at least one series going. And all that's in the future. And right now, after enduring this relentless, weaponized whispers campaign, I know there's an audience hungry to know what's the last thing. But I guess that's for an audience of people that don't remember what 2005 and 4 all the way into 2009 looked like. Because we've been through this before. This whole thing about the auctions and the teardown and the fans throwing up petitions and gnashing. Apparently the petition drive is stalling out at 40,000, which gives the clickbaiters, the Ragebaiters, one more thing to laugh at. We went through all that in 04, 05, 06. And that was just 20 years ago. And you don't, I started to say you don't want to talk to, but maybe you do. Maybe you do. And this is going to be a subject for us on the Trek Files next season, at least a couple of times. What the 70s were like when you were just trying to come back from the grave the first time with Star Trek and you got teased. You think these movie ideas the last 4 or 5 years were something? Ha! Ha! Hold my beer, say the 70s. Yeah. But all of this just leads to I don't know how you are. We'll see what everybody says in the chat. A very unsettled time. I am so thankful for not just the success of Artemis 2, but the ripple effects that it seems to have had. And I pray to Kalis and the prophets that feeling doesn't dissipate. Even as I turn over here and I realize the here and now, right now, is that the news, moving on, you're still wanting to talk about cancellations, and boom, there's the sets dismantled. You're still wanting to live with those feelings wherever they are on the spectrum, but the world's moving on. The world is moving on. And the world moves on and also leaves behind some of these people that got really energized and maybe even monetized over the last 6 months, 9 months, a year. I don't have big numbers, gang. Maybe I'm just too sensible for the modern world. I don't understand the people who have the energy to burn on burnout. I'd much rather save my energy and put it to, do you really want to die on this hill? That was kind of, do you really want to waste your energy? Do you really want to fight this battle or save your powder for something bigger? Because the people who are using their powder every day, every week for months on end, I don't get it. Especially if it's something you say you love and you're passionate about, and yet you take the modern headline clickbait verb and adjective approach to it. It's not what real life one-to-one fandom. It's not what my buddies and me, my old clubs, my old fan circles, probably yours too, then or now. It's probably not the way you talk. And undergirding all of this is how we get along with each other here, how we interact, how we communicate. And the over-the-top, ridiculous headlines just meant to grab your attention, whatever it's about, politics, sports, just this insane, pedal to the metal way we talk about everything. And then we have our passions and our hobbies and our nerddoms, and it infiltrates that too, and it takes a toll. It takes an effect. God, I sound like I'm leading in to a rebirth of Life Support Live here. Where's Ali? The real doctor. But that's what you get when I feel like you've had a week or two of what we've had in Trek world. From the big funnel of the world watching the madness and the insanity and glimmers of hope, but then you have a world uniting event like Artemis. And my God, something that made the United States look not only, competent still, but decent. What a concept. Because it ain't, kids, I'm amazed at the difference between the bicentennial, the 200th anniversary, and the, whatever we call this now, the sesquibicentennial, the 250th. The bisesqua? Anyway. Well, we have a summer to go. Because in case you've forgotten, this is the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. And the 25th anniversary of Enterprise. And. And we'll be marking all of that through the summer and having a good time at cons. Hopefully. Started off the year with the cruise. And, again, if you can join us for the 60th anniversary Exploring Trek Sites tour, the big tour with Geek Nation Tours, geeknationtours.com. I'd love to have you along. If you're looking for one more way to celebrate the 60th in a way that we haven't done in 10 years, I can't believe that. So we have a year to go with all the feels. And some surprises on top of all of this still to come that I still can't talk about. But right now, these last few days, these last few months have just been a roller coaster. And for once, a roller coaster of goodness is in the mix, a roller coaster of historic highs and joys. And I just want to make sure that, yeah, we all needed it. But aside from our selfish need, what it means and what it might mean is with everything we tend to talk about, what it's going to mean for the kids and the young people, the folks who need their inspiration to get on the path or to maintain the path they're on. Yeah. Yuri's Night Joy. The Artemis Awakening. And bored clickbaiters. How are y'all doing? That's it. We're going to get into the chat in a second. I did want to add one more thing. Do a shout out here. There's probably more great events going on that I wish I could mention, but I did want to say that the door, if you did not make it to Trek Talks 5 2 weeks ago, the door is still open for putting a donation in. Trek Talks, this is the 5th annual anniversary of benefiting the Hollywood Food Coalition, John Billingsley's great project, which also benefits food groups around the country for the hunger, for the food adjacent, and with ancillary effects to the unhoused and homeless, and social medicine. Some of the techniques they developed, they've shared around the country, some of the ways they've done things. So it actually goes far beyond LA too, but it's been around for years. I'm not giving you the straight dope. All I want to tell you is, if you missed your chance to donate, look in the chat. Their goal was 100,000. They're up there. They're happy. They have 87,000. If you missed your chance to contribute, this great now annual Trek webathon every year. The planning is already underway for next spring, I'm sure, but so many folks came together. The sponsoring groups, if I start naming people, I'm gonna mess it up. But you can read. Give Butter is the app system that is their donation handler. I know that looks odd, but if you missed your chance, or you want to give more, you've decided you can add in more, or you've got a group that might like to take up a collection or have a fundraiser and add to it. I am happy. We did a panel on tribulations with Terry and Ira. Turned out Dan Curry got hung up at the No Kings rally that day. But we had an awesome time for our hour. It was a day full. Of course, all the video, the whole 9-hour show is out there on Trek Talks on YouTube. You can watch all the panels, some of which made some news, and almost all of them were poignant and thought-provoking and even emotional and funny. The whole range of what Star Trek brings us. So you can still benefit from the content of all those hours of so many folks giving their time. If you want to get a little bang for your buck and toss in on the pile here, it's still open. Just wanted to say that. What else is still open, though, is my thanks and gratitude, and even more new folks. Speaking of people jumping in. So yeah, I'm talking about my Patreon folks, the TTL Clubbers. Right? So thank you, Chuck A. Thanks, James Kerwin. This is all of our regular TTLers. Diana Hopkins, Javier Gudjonsen, Lawrence Todd, Chris Jiggins, Mitch Keith, Keith Rombach, J.R. Poole, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jazimski. And our live wires welcoming a few newbies. Toby Peregrino, thank you, and Elizabeth Stretz, coming over from my Roddenberry Trekophiles group on every other Monday night. Thank you, Elizabeth, too. Josh Reeve, who is fairly new to the Live Wires group. And, of course, Gary Williams, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, David Gall, MJ Frug, Chris Garris, Brandon Coles, Dave Gregory, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. I'm really proud. There's a lot of you see a lot of podcast folks in here too, doing great work on their content too, and I appreciate them supporting me as well. If you want to get in on that little piece of action, very simple. It's still just $5 and $10. You can do more, but that's where we are. Patreon.com/Trekland Live for the vast Trekland streaming network. Yeah. Gang, I talk about the Geek Nation Tour's big tour, if that's too much for you, but if you have an extra day, I'll just mention it. It's TreklandTreks.com. We do the day tour. I know there's folks in the chat and some of our other folks who have done it the last 5, 6, 7 years, not the 2 years we had to take off for pandemic, but you pick it. You set up your own, with my help, your own 4 sites for the day. We have an awesome time. I'm your driver, your concierge, your prop wrangler, your cosplay crew chief. We have an awesome time around Greater SoCal, with me handling, hopefully, most of the hiccups and traffic issues that might get in your way if you were trying to do it all yourself, much less your takeaway goodie of all the information, all the actual factual information from the Trek sites that we visit per your order that day, your pre-planning. And yes, I got to say the Trek Files is on hiatus from Roddenberry Podcasts. We've got 14 seasons in the can. You can check them all out at thetrekfiles.com. Is the best home now. It's not new anymore. It's been a couple years. All the old shows are there. They're very searchable, scannable, clickable. The documents of the week are still right there, as are the hot links to get you back into Memory Alpha. Aside from some of our guests who don't have a page yet, and they should, because, the Trek Files is from Gene's Files with someone from the industry, the Trek family, the Trek industry family, as our guest. So hopefully it's not like any other podcast that's out there, and short and bite-sized to boot. Thank you. And if you want to join the support for Trekophiles community, Trekophiles spelled with an F, specifically, you can get in on the Roddenberry Patreon. The Discord there, you get access to the Discord of the Trekophiles Tonight message boards, our every other Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific meetup, Trekophiles Tonight. But you get into all the other Roddenberry shows and member communities, and some member communities that had their own shows that aren't podcasts, but they have meetups within Discord. It's crazy. A lot of other fandoms and genres are all there too, for as little as $1 a month. It's pretty cool. And there's at least one meetup party at Trek Vegas every year that you're invited to if you're supporting. So, yeah. I have my own Patreon, just to be clear, but the Trekland. But there is a Roddenberry mission log Patreon that gets you access to the Discord as the main fun. $1 a month. Check it out if you would, please. And of course, I'm here at Larry Nemechek on Twitter, on Blue Sky, Larry's Trekland on Facebook, on Instagram, and yes, YouTube. Ring the bell, do all the things, like and subscribe, share, all that stuff. I'm one of those that did not get in on the YouTube game. Apparently, I don't clickbait my headlines. I don't pay for followers. I don't know. I see the folks with 1.5 million followers or 150,000 followers, subscribers, and wonder why. Because I don't tend to see a lot of there. No one ever goes back and watches what these people say a year later to see how much of it ever panned out. You know what I mean? And again, if you're watching us later, leave a comment, would you please? Yes, please like and subscribe us here on YouTube. And maybe you can join us live some Tuesday afternoon and join this conversation that I am going to be diving into soon. But for now, everybody, oh my goodness, please stay healthy, do all the things. Please stay awoke, check the sources. We're going to get rationality back on the table here, as well as, squashed history, all of it. And Trek well, everybody. All right. Hey, YouTube's working today. So look who's here first before they go to sleep. Hi, Christoph. Before you ask me, Christoph, yes, European and midday Portal 47 is tomorrow. Yes. Bits and pieces of news. Hey, Doralta, good evening to you. Hey, Joshua, thank you. And I got you in. I guess I had you in last week too. So anyway, thank you for being a Patreoner. And there's Captain Calvin from Germany. And Happy Harriman's Day. Someday, I think I looked that up once, but I have no clue. I have no clue now. Did I just miss? People are jumping in now. Do we want the merger of Paramount and WT to go through? I read yesterday in my newspaper that it is not that safe and said and done. It feels inevitable. It's not bureaucratically approved to go through. And now there's some pushback on it. There's a lot of worry about just as you have with any merger, you lose jobs. And right now the industry in LA is very vulnerable to that. I'm sorry, guys. I missed the first few minutes here, got gobbled up. Sydney, whoops, there you go. Sydney, hi. Hope I'm gonna have to hurry in these early ones there because everybody keeps talking. I'm just seeing everybody. Hi, Joel. Mr. Chris Garris is in the room here, everyone. Yeah, talk about your fast empire builders. Boy, howdy. Thank you for holding down the Twitch corner there. Toss a coin to the Witcher. Okay. I'm glad everybody is. I did not see this, but that does not. I think I heard some rumbling about this because the Chicago went so well. I don't. Does this mean in addition to a Chicago? Yeah. Hey, if there's feeling about the 60th feeling to satisfy that, maybe not annually, but at least the spike of the 60th. Oh, changeling test. Thank you, Sean, because security demands it. What did Kira use to do with the large spiders? Oh, found on the Bajoran moons. Pakuba? What were they called? Pakuda? No, I know. I see her she's talking to Jadzia, right? Oh, thank you, Josh, for the weather report. From Buffalo, New York, 63 and clear. 63 and sunny. I just did a bit as a news announcer. Not just then. I mean, last night I was recording lines to be a news announcer. On the risk of an answer overtaking the question, Portal 47. Yes. I beat you, but you beat me. So there we go. Oh, eat them. I was like, what do you say? Oh, Palookas? No, that's Joe Palooka. Mr. Victor. Wow, how polite you are. Yeah, Orban. Yay, Chris is doing well after his surgery. Good deal. Oh, hey, Christian, good to see you. It's gonna be safe. We're past 1997, so there's no chance of the moon being blasted out of orbit. Yeah. Moonbase Alpha. Yeah, Wanda, you and a few million others. Yeah, as if it had been a little, lost, stolen, or strayed here the last few years. Absolutely, John. Woohoo, Artemis. Absolutely. Hey, Glenn. Wait, have you been gone? That's okay. I am sorry for your brutal work, but it's good to hear from you, Glenn, as always. Yeah, I forgot that the capsule is an Orion capsule. The program name is Artemis. We were spoiled all those years of the capsule was the Apollo capsule. The program was Apollo. Oh my God. I didn't mention this. Just the splashdown. Now, I got reminded the next day that there had been Dragon splashdowns with the SpaceX missions. But I felt like I was watching a splashdown. I mean, the orange and white, same drogue type shoots out of a flat squashed cone. I felt like I was the 15-year-old kid again. So I meant to say that during the main time. But of all the mission, you're fingers crossed and you're praying and you are go, go, go on the launch. You pray nothing goes awry during the mission when things should be ordinarily stable, like Apollo 13 had. But it's always the splashdown, that re-entry through the blackout time. And I knew there was a whole generation that had not experienced that, really. At least, as someone kept reminding me, they'd have these books. I'm talking about on a massive scale with so much of the world stopping what they were doing, like the old days, to make sure and watch. And everyone was watching. And you do get that ripple effect of the whole world is reacting as one. And there's almost nothing now, almost nothing but a space mission like that that's historic, that will do that to the whole world. Forget politics, forget language, forget location, forget socioeconomic situation. Because you're all at the mercy of everyone's in the same boat. Oh, you guys. Apollo will always be a space capsule in a program to me. And Captain Apollo next. So we are on. I've been checking every 1 or 2 minutes, and now YouTube and Facebook are working, but I missed 9 minutes. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Melanie. Well, it'll all be here. It was just me rambling, you know. What? Sci-Fi Mombi said hello. Okay. Danny. Did I say Donnie? Okay. Well, thank you for bringing us the Power Rangers Niche of the Woods update there, and RIP for any. Absolutely. Rumors that they're canceling Electric Bloom after 1 season. And we've got the Outback in the house. Thank you, Narda. Good to see you too. Oh no, Melanie, I can't believe it's that hard to find. It's amazing. I have stills. I didn't take video off TV, but I have stills. Yes, Christoph, a tech note. Why do I have to reload Facebook to see new Facebook Live comments? I don't know. Restream forwards new Facebook comments to the other channels in real time. Facebook fails to show them automatically. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, we need something like this old-fashioned, non-sarcastical stuff. Oh, cool, Christian. You were born on the day Apollo 14 launched. So I was too young to experience the remaining Apollo missions. Artemis 2 was exciting to experience and to see what happens when people come together for a purpose. Yeah, competent people who just want to get the thing. I don't know, kind of like the Enterprise D crew, the original Enterprise crew, the Voyager crew, any Starfleet crew, mostly. They're not having personal crises. Oh, the grip is where the Terminator landed. Okay, where MacGyver lived in the pilot. Yeah. Where one part of the second Charlie's Angels movie took place. I prefer to think of it as, Rain Robinson's secret SETI lab. Yes. Artemis 2 was awesome. Yeah. Highly inspiring. And maybe democracy still works in Hungary. Kira Nerys eats Palucos. Film at 11. Thank you, Mike. Palucos. I was close to it. I still think it's a takeoff of Palooka. Hey, you big Palooka. Which sounds very Ira to me. Very, Brooklyn, Queens. Greetings programs. Hey, my figure. Greetings back at you too. Sadly, no matter how good or bad a show product is, there will always be haters. Yeah, but whatever happened to when you didn't like a show, you just moved on? Now, if it was like outrageously horrendous, Like if the Ku Klux Klan had a channel and it was either something to be completely ridiculed, laughed off, like the energy demon vampire from Day of the Dove. You either laugh it off or you ignore it. Or if it's affecting people and costing lives, you sue it. But to just take your own precious personal time to consume that much time with something, I don't get it. This was something else that came up. It's like I wanted to say flat earthers, but they give flat earthers a bad name. I'm just kind of really, I don't know. Hi, Mojo Psalms, Mojo Psalms. New to join us. I'm trying to read. You're breezing in. Hopefully they are returning to shoot movie shows on Paramount Lot. It would be nice. It would be nice. Not talking about just Star Trek. I'm talking about anybody, anything shooting in LA, and that the rental prices are, competitive. There should be a Star Trek museum at Big where all the sets are put. Well, amen. They've had a chance. They talk about it from time to time as a tourist site. It seems to be too much to hope that a Star Trek series be in production when we land on the moon again. Well, if that's going to be in not 2024, 2026, they still haven't perfected the techniques. They keep talking about how they're going to use the propulsion and the navigation steering process system they're going to use for the new lunar lander hasn't been invented or perfected yet. So some of these dates may be a little pie in the sky, but we're talking at least 2028. I hope we have a Star Trek series. In production can mean it's been announced and we've put some people on payroll. That can be in production. Now, if you mean shooting, actually filming with sets and a cast ready and scripts written, but I would hope that even then, because I'm afraid we won't be landing on the moon. It'll be at least, this is 26, 28. It may be 2030 before we're actually landed. Well, I'm vague on the deadlines, but there's another year to go test everything in lunar orbit to repeat the 9, 10, 11 sequence. But they got to invent the lunar lander first. They got to get its systems perfected, what they keep talking about using. What are we saying here? They will be put there until we need them, and needing them we will someday in the future. But you play the long game. Doralta, you have to remind me exactly what we were talking about there. Yeah. Steve, you're here. They did it when Eureka went under. Was Eureka the nuts campaign? And they sent nuts to the... You got a bunch of props, banners, street signs, and even a couple of chairbacks. Contacted Ming Na Wen and got her chairback. Well, how nice of you, Steve. That's awesome. That is cool. See, got some Eureka love going on here. Josh, not seeing any Trek shows in production is somewhat unsettling, but I, for one, am happy they're moving on from doing year one. I talked about this on Trekophiles yesterday. I may have said it here. I know I've said it with the Portales. Year one was never going to happen. It was, guys, year one... at Hall H in San Diego, promoting the other shows of the moment, when Akiva Goldsman kind of said, out of the blue, with no warning, there'd been the vague talk about, well, wouldn't it be great to take Strange New World and push it all the way up to day one of Kirk's captaincy? Okay, that's their end game. Oh, no, wouldn't it be nice to keep going? This is not about Paul Wesley. This is not about anybody that worked on Strange New Worlds or the new. It's the idea. We don't need another Kirk. There is so much Star Trek left untouched. We don't need this again. When Akiva said that, the great mighty Hall H of 6,000 people who were the vast majority Trek fans there for the Trek hour and a half presentations, the vast majority, he said, everybody get ready, cards and letters, pin drop. People were like, what? Paul Wesley's standing there. Pin drop. Partly because I think most of the hall thought, really, we don't want to see a third Kirk. We don't need this. But I think a lot of the hall was savvy enough to think, no one has heard of this before. Akiva is choosing to announce it and ask for help. Is that desperation? Because nobody ever goes public until they need to. Had he not been through all the internal wheels of Paramount and his own and even Secret Hideout? Was this maybe throw a Hail Mary, run it up the flagpole and see if enough people salute? Was he hoping for a repeat of the Anson Mount Pike tsunami of support that dislocated Section 31 off the tarmac and put it in development place next? And eventually Section 31 goes from being a series to a movie, and I still want to see those series scripts. But aside from the idea itself, the idea that he's asking for popular support felt very, very, I hate to say desperate, felt very last option to me. From a world where everything is super secret. But then on the other hand, from a world that Tawny and Justin had been allowed to awkwardly talk, trying to be funny, but it didn't work that way, about their show and their sitcom, which I hope works. But it was just people thought it was a joke. It was the most awkward announcement of an idea that wasn't an idea. It was an idea, not greenlit show. I couldn't believe Paramount was allowing it to happen. It was not the Paramount playbook. Same thing with Akiva talking about year one. There was this much, this much. Oh, I'm sorry, that's too much. That much interest in Hall H when he uttered that phrase, that question. Again, this is not about people or things. It's totally about the idea. If the pipeline for new Trek is going to be this big, we don't need a Kirk show clogging that up with all that there is in Trek to explore new. So I don't think there was a debate about moving on. I don't think year one was there, but it was like one of the things that's been floated and pitched. Well, yeah, but it's of all of the ones out there hanging, it was. I think there's 2 or 3 flashes of idea in some of the current and recent Trek showrunners' minds that have more support, and they're not even known yet. You were apprehensive about posting a short from your SFA panel this morning with all the hate. Oh, Chris, I hope you didn't get any. Oh no. Academy haters will be fed to the fur fly. That was such a lame thing on Voyager. It was such a Neelixy thing. You were kind of like, ugh. And that's the thing that Colbert, I still want to know if Colbert wrote his own stuff or if they handed him everything or if he riffed on things. I don't know. If there's one positive, it's that we as Trekkies can keep the home fires burning for Trek by creating fanfic and art. The shows and movies will return eventually. Oh, yeah. And this is not 2005 in that way. Now, JJ announced the Kelvin movie, which we didn't know a Kelvin movie. He announced his Star Trek movie a year later. So we had a true year of vacuum, of not knowing what was going to happen from spring of 05 until I think June of 06 was when they announced his movie deal, and one of them would be a Trek. Yeah. We can also ask for shows we want to see. Well, I've been doing that forever, but yes, I guess so. They may not listen, but it doesn't hurt to speak up. That whole one person moving the present thing. Yeah. And you've got new owners now who may be set in their own ways, and they may be myopic and ready to do the thing they've always wanted to do. Or if they're smart like Harv Bennett was at the beginning, they will come in with ears open. I don't like Kurtzman. He's coarse and rough and irritating, and he gets everywhere. Okay. What a beach. What a beach. Sand in my shoes. Yeah, I'm familiar with the term the dog catching the car. They are moaning about SFA. SFA is canceled, and now the Phantom Mayonnaise guys sit there, stare at stupidly. This is what I mean. It's like, okay, now what are you going to do? Well, so far what they've been doing is just coming, and we're still talking about the sets being dismantled, and we still think Alex's contract won't be renewed. It's like, yeah, do you have to, well, Rose, we'll try to forgive you. It's good to hear from you. Robin, the great Robin Morcelli. Robin Morcelli Riley. Good to see you, my dear. Hope you're well, everybody. Robin was stand-in and background extra on DS9. Began standing in for Kira, for Nana, but was a Bajoran so many times, so many ways, and other things. Kind of the one of the queen of the extras and stand-in and atmosphere folks. So howdy. I don't know if you're still here, but howdy. Always a good motto. Change the present. Oh, Dr. Ghoul, you'd be happy with a decade away with Trek, let the stink of new Trek dissipate, then bring the series back fresh a la Doctor Who in 2005. Well, here's the thing, Dr. Ghoul. I've said this forever because it was my defense mechanism against the Kelvin movies, but you never forget your first Trek, and there is a silent generation. Don't know how big it's going to be. I think these reports about the 50,000 viewers is BS, but again, we have a vacuum of numbers. However, you never knock someone's first Trek. I'm just saying. You never forget your first Trek, and you don't ever ridicule someone's first Trek, wherever they came in. They may eventually like something better down the road differently, but they became a Trek fan because of that. And there's a huge bulk of people that did, of fans, and they're not reporting in at all the report in sites, which is what I keep saying. I don't know how many, but I know that there's some. And it'll take 5 and 10 years for that to work its way into the system. So for a lot of people, the stink is not a stink. It may be for you. However, the other point here is this is not 2005. The world moves a lot faster. There are new channels of media entertainment being developed all the time. AI is here. There won't be 10 years away from Trek. For one thing, the capitalists need to make money. Won't let it happen. It was a stupid structural lawsuit before. I get now. We proved this with the 70s. I never thought we'd have to live the 70s again, and lo and behold, we did, thanks to all the external crap of splitting Paramount. And now there's a struggle on to find the right mix for the right format and all of that stuff. But don't take people's fresh Trek away for 10 years. Don't wish that. As we saw, Rick and Brannon said, oh, the audience is tired. No, the producers were tired. The audience was right there in 05. And no one is saying that the audience is tired right now. So no, I don't want it. My clock is ticking. I don't want to have to wait another 10 years without fresh Trek. You, of course, are entitled to your opinion. You must be what, 12? I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant like you have all the time in the world to wait 10 years. A lot of us don't want to wait that long. I felt like I waited my 10 years. I've waited my 10 years twice. The first 10 I came in the middle of, so it didn't feel like 10 years, although I guess it was. It's the second 12 years that I'm still pissed about that was taken from me. So let them get their shit together and let it not take 10 years. And I think thanks to capitalism, it won't. Your fur fly has been breeding millions of kilograms of astrophage. This is not a safe message of independent. Rose, oh, thank you. Thank you there for that, my dear. And it's Pedro. Hello, too. Hello, too. Well, yes, C3, absolutely right. Pretty crummy way to celebrate the 60th. Yep. Which we were filled with hope about back on the cruise. Yeah, there's that. It's one of those cases where the left hand, the right hand, and the middle hand have no contact, no communication. And this time, I almost feel like there's a left hand, a right hand, and a middle hand, and then there's another abdomen on top of that. We're joined at the hip. I feel like there's 17 sets of left, middle, and right hands now with all the mergers and acquisitions, or just being up in the air. Did I hear the great news? There might be one that's, well, just talked about all this. And again, Pedro, there was never a chance in hell that year one was going to happen. Just saying. I don't know. I know some fans have said they'd like to have seen it. And once again, that's fine. I'm just thinking they're in the vast, vast minority. This is true. It was weird how Who filled in Trek's gap and vice versa, but now they're both down. You're looking forward to this. Guys, it's just a movie. To me, Spaceballs was the most disappointing of all the... I'm talking about the Mel Brooks parodies that started with Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and High Anxiety and Spaceballs and History of the World Part 1. I'm just saying that of all the Mel Brooks parody movies, Spaceballs was the most disappointing because I think Spaceballs showed it was the genre that he understood the least. Now, I know it was funny and tons of people had a blast, and Tim Russ has made a whole career out of it. I'm just saying. It's only a 1-2 hour movie, though. Yeah, maybe, or yes, all of those things. Yeah. But for folks who, I'm going to take this. I'm sorry, I'm too invested. I'll see things, but I'm too invested in Trek. I'm going to take this time to go back and start doing some Kurtzman era rewatches for things that were just cranking out so fast you couldn't keep up. Making Trek movies that don't generally draw a broader audience, that will compete with bigger, broader box office draws. Does make one wonder if movies are out, more TV in. Well, Ellison, everybody says, well, he wants to be a mogul. They have said they want to up the whole Paramount slate from 8 or 10 to 20 to 30. So Trek would necessarily be sucked into that. There's the one announced. Will they announce a second one? Different direction, producer's tone? Will it be? Who knows? Yes, Orville season 4 looks like it's just a matter of Seth's scheduling and other people's involved. You will see. Robin, I don't know what hope you're referring to, but I'm with you. I'm usually pro hope. This is a thing, Pedro. We might have Remember, all we had for the 50th was an announcement of a series to come. Remember? So it's not like the days of, oh, look, DS9 and Voyager are going to do specials for the anniversary. We hadn't been there. Because after that, we had 06 and then 16 and then 26. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it's not, obviously. And you know what? I almost don't know if I would have wanted to see what they were going to do for it. Yeah. When you were a kid, TNG was just this new show. And for the most time of your childhood and teenage years, you got Star Trek. And then it vanished, which is why I was happy when we got the new movies or the new Star Trek show Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Prodigy. Honestly, I hope we get a new Trek in 1 year's time, 2 years or 5 years. Well, me too. Me too. Larry, people want better Trek, so they're clickbaiting bad news. We can pretend to like something we don't. Otherwise, people reporting on great TV. Yeah, but I'm saying you can report and opine responsibly, civilly on all this, or you can take the road. But you can also expose yourself when the thing you wanted happens and you don't know what to do next because maybe you don't have any other point. And you know what? A lot of people come to something because of a reason. But in this example, if you came to podcasting, if you came to streaming because of Star Trek and Star Trek goes away for 10 years, what do? Do you pivot? Do you rename and rebrand? Do you just branch? I mean, it's a question. And if you came especially with a brand of ridiculing, despising, that hate word, the H word gets used so much, it's almost meaningless now. But if that's your brand and there's, again, you've got the car in your dog mouth, what do you do now? It's the age-old, very common question. Maybe the Stargate show can. That's nice. It won't fill it for me. It won't fill it for me. Okay, well, hey, Dr. Gould, that's fine. If that's what you need, go for it. I don't do all of those to begin with. So it was intense when we had 5 a year, 5 fresh Treks a year, and they were overlapping starts and finishes. They were diminishing, which I thought was so stupid. They were stomping on each other's spotlight. Finales and premieres are the hottest time to talk about a series, and they were blocking each other's. It was like mutual eclipsing. Okay, I'm interrupting conversation streams, which is why at least I say, yeah, okay, that episode XYZ might not be good, but better than having no Trek and better than listening to those clickbait clowns. I know. Yeah. I just don't understand why people just can't stick to this Trek is not for me and allow others. Oh, come on. There's no money or attention in that, Narda. What do you think? I mean, there's real criticism and review is a thing. Why do reviewers talk about bad movies? So you don't go, so you might be better informed about whether you want to watch it or not. Very true. Oh, okay. People are talking. I saw your thing about hard media, Rose. It's already gone. I can't click on it. Why were you vocally trying to defend Academy? Because you don't watch Lower Decks. Yeah. Love to see Vasquez rocks when you're not in a terrible rush and about 90 minutes away from coming down with COVID. Oh, Bill. Is that what happened? So sorry. So sorry. So, well, maybe we can do something about that sometime. Hi, Willie. Hi, Willie. I missed the beginning of this. Obviously, it's past. You disagree about the hate towards TNG. Not sure what's going on. The hate towards TNG was by 10%, 20% of 10% of fandom. It was dissipated within 2 years. Now, there was ridicule of TNG. Carpet on the walls. That went through the whole series. Counselor on the bridge. Carpet on the walls. Yeah, I want to make sure that's on screen. There you go. You can still get into Trek Talks. Yeah, I do too. I have the letters in Interstat over here. But that was mainly the old women's fanfic zine fandom that thought they were being erased. The Kirk Spock, everything was being erased. I don't remember people if they did, they kept it to themselves, especially the Black Captain. Most people celebrated that, and it just felt inevitable. Yeah. Yes, Fellowship of the Nerds. It's a corporate that's in flux and change. It's not just, like I said, it's not just left hand, right hand not knowing what's going on. It's left hand, right hand, and the other 7 bodies that are now joined at the hip haven't all met each other yet. And yes, yeah. Also add there's a lot of negativity on both sides too from fans and dislikers. This isn't just dislikers enjoying the negativities I have seen. I seem to have been spared. I know what you're talking about. I'm just going to say that if the likers have been militant, it comes from a place of newfound gains and hurt. And it's part of a bigger thing going on in society right now. People who have only freshly won rights, much less acceptance and visibility, are a little thinner skinned about losing everything they just gained in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And I see that tie into these modern shows. And I will forgive that kind of trigger on recent pain than I will people who seem to be, I don't know, not in it for such pure, if not fragile reasons. If Strange New Worlds do anything for the 60th, maybe. I can't believe at this point anyone cares about keeping, spoilerifics as tight as they would have otherwise. But wonder with AI if you've seen what they're doing with Star Wars. What is Paramount? Oh my God, guys, stop popping! I'm losing the chat here. Stop chatting. Come on, stay. This is, yes, exactly, Bill. What? Well, like I'm saying, Pedro, it was a lot of the women, mainly from old school, the women that had built Star Trek fandom and a lot of media fandom. Those women felt sidelined when they didn't get it yet. And it was very close to them. Sound familiar. It was very close to them. They didn't have the landscape goggles. They didn't think of Star Trek as a franchise. It was Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And once the world saw that it could be so much more, then it was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But in the moment, that's, they saw it as a loss. I'll just say no. I wish this would happen, Fellowship. No surprise here. Of course, the new hot spending money streak, that feels a little backwards looking to me for the new guys. I mean, if Larry Ellison is as big a Trek nerd as supposedly he is, maybe. or somebody gets hired in the position to be able to throw money at that, but it would be a lost leader out of the gate unless they can collapse. You guys are zooming this through too fast, but yeah, there was a little bit of the bald English captain who surrenders all the time, and the Klingon who always gets beat up. Yeah. I mean, go through 76, 86, 96, 06, 16, 26. Unless, as someone said, Strange New or Academy did some version of a 60th already, because they've only shot in the last year or so. Oh, Quark, yes, with the Star Note. Richard Benjamin. Buck Henry's show. Yes, indeed. And Gene, the plant humanoid. Like I said, Pedro, year one was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. Never going to happen. Yeah, what he said here. UGSP, the United Galaxy Sanitation Patrol, I think. Yeah. Bill. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, man. That's Trek Files, everybody. See? We're on hiatus, but the whole 14 seasons are there. 14 times 24. How many episodes is that? Hundreds. And we came back with Karen and did another one. Yes. Oh, DS9 got so much grief that people just gave up watching. The division of the audience. Yeah. DS9 was always the stepchild. Yeah, because year one, the only thing you had supposedly a year of where no man is not day one of his captaincy, but you might lead into day one and then, to where no man, and then you've got a year because you don't have McCoy yet as a doctor. I keep wanting to say you've got what was his sheriff name from the Rifleman? Mark Piper. And you don't have Uhura. You have all kinds of stuff happening. Tales of the Starfleet, is that a fan series or a pitch or whatever? I don't know. Yeah, we've had prequels to TOS out the wazoo. Can we please get out of the 20? I keep saying this. Can we please get out of the 2360s? 2260s? 2260s. Can we please get out of the 2260s? Thank you. Thank you, Christoph. Zahir, I'm sorry. There isn't one on YouTube, I don't think. I notify, I make sure Facebook, Twitter, and Blue Sky all have a thing. Yes. And, from the UK. Okay, very good. Phew. I hate to cross you off my list here. Because the public needs it. Anybody know what I'm quoting there from Star Trek? Regarding SFA, I still say the biggest mistake they made on that series was the lazy dialogue writing, including heavy use of that's my thing. I don't think it was lazy. I think they did it on purpose. And I just think that was a wrong choice. They missed people like everybody. Oh, Astral work. Well, thank you. Thank you. Sir, madam, what have we? With a handle like that. A workplace comedy isn't something that has potential. Mary Tyler Moore, Bob Newhart, Cheers, Night Court. Just saying. Just saying. I'm if there's anybody that I would trust to make it work, it's Tawny. I would follow Tawny off a Star Trek cliff anytime. From what I've seen to what I saw unscripted when she single-handedly saved a Star Trek day as a host and stage managed from the stage, couldn't believe what I was watching. Someday I'm going to find out the story of that. Like, did the real stage manager show up drunk or something? I don't know. Question from me. Well, I was talking there about Tawny's sitcom. If Tawny's sitcom could also be more of a dramedy like MASH. Now, MASH was about life and death in an OR and a war. If it's set at a spa resort, maybe a spa resort in the middle of a war. No. I don't know. It's a tough road, but if that's what she came up with, I would totally go there with her. But other choices, I would like the fish out of water concept. That was a quirky. Could we make quirky work in Star Trek with drama and comedy overtones, but quirky? Quirky as in Northern Exposure, which the fish out of water, it was the same thing with Green Acres, but Green Acres was more sitcom-y. But I think if you pulled it back to, you could have the pathos as well as the fun of a tone like Northern Exposure. That was one of my all-time favorite shows too. And that could be anywhere. That doesn't lend itself to any kind of setting. Colony, foreign, alien world, colony world, starship with a wacky, like Cerritos was second contact. It could be any kind of a ship. WB and Paramount should be declined by regulators. Seems incredible. I totally agree. But you're bemoaning the fact that people have forgotten. Are you kidding me? People forgot what happened 5 years ago. People forget what happened 10 years ago. It's not a matter of being too young to know and too idiotic to read history. Yeah. There's that. Or anyone. Paluku. You big Paluku. Yeah. You need to get Blue Sky to sync with Twitch so we can watch via Blue Sky and be in the most obscure format. Yeah, that's what I need to do. You think Paramount's wasted enough money on bad Star Trek ideas? $1 billion, I think. I don't know what you're talking about. But who else is? I mean, they're going to let somebody else do it. Who else but Paramount? Your point is, don't waste money on bad ideas. Okay. It was a feature, not an error. Yes, it was a choice. As we, I had a theater director that used to say, he was tech theater and directed too. But I remember him saying somebody would criticize something in a play production, and he said, now, or an acting or directing choice, whatever, and he would say, now, it was a choice. It was a bad choice, but it was a choice. Like it was intentionally done. Oh, Mr. S. It was a choice. It was a bad choice, but it was a choice. Steve, are you still here? Okay. Here we are. But that's why I'd be sucking as a businessman, and you'd probably not, because I'd say, yeah, why not? Let's give it a shot. Well, depends on circumstance. If you have a pool of money here that's dedicated to that, fine. If you don't have a pool of money that's a risk pool, then you're going to be more conservative with your choices. Yes. I wanted to see Captain April launch the Constitution class with his wife, Sarah, the first medical doctor. I was like, Pike, we need to go further back. Then you would actually get 20 years before Kirk, not 5 to 8. Yep. Hey, Astral, I've talked to a couple of people that say don't worry so much about Trek being like, oh, it's gone off a right-wing ditch. It looks nothing like itself. Not so much worried about that because they're not stupid and they want to keep making money, and they don't want to be the people that, the people that killed Star Trek. It's more about just having Star Trek have some radar, be on the radar, having some attention. The only thing you heard from Tachyon Pulse reporting? Or I heard passing on. Yeah. Talk about somebody that's come out of the blue, and now that's one of those, I think, that's spinning their wheels now. Yeah. Was a doc series. Center seat. Nacelle's got that covered. Or the people that do Blu-rays and do the bonus features when they hire a company to do that. To those who are against Perisky's, acquisition of WBD, I salute you. Yeah. The best moment of Artemis was that awkward silence when no one wanted to speak to certain men with the bronzer. Well, he didn't give them anything to respond to. It was just weird. Very normal, but still weird. They're not the first people to wind up with awkward moments. Okay, bye, Donnie. Like I said, they were never going to do year one. Never going to happen. Not a single person was interested in year one beyond the 3 people who talked about it. Fandomly, corporately, no one. No, okay, I take that back. I have seen people from time to time online say, I'd like to see year one. So, okay, so 7. 10. 7 plus 3. Because anybody who wasn't online or going to cons, the great armchair unwashed fans had no idea it was even a thing. So I'm going to say. What are we up to here? Oh, we're coming up to, Yeah, we're coming up to our 2 hours. Okay, Glenn. I'm trying to think. What did I say? Gemini. I always thought that was a Southern Northern thing. I just thought Southerners said Gemini. Gemini 5, Gemini 6, Gemini 7, Gemini 6, Gemini 7, Gemini 8. Gemini Cricket. Gemini is not the constellation Gemini. I'm trying to think of the Latin combining for the constellation stars. Beta Geminorum is something. Gamma. Okay. In some ways, this Artemis mission being more precise and flawless than Apollo just goes to show how much tech has improved, that people were of equal capability. Yeah. Guys, remember that line about how the computing power on the Apollo, the combined or just the command module at least? You have more computing power in your iPhone now than they did in the entire command module system. Capacity and all of that. Space shuttles are now more dangerous than using rockets. Because the capsules are in proximity to the engines and the fuel. At least there's some space. And they had the escape systems. At least there's more space between them. Than there's a ton more fuel, but there's more space between them in the last bit. Rose, it's not over. As long as you can smell money, some mogul, some capitalist will want to make some, and hopefully some idealistic storyteller in film or TV would want to do it. But of course, what overrides art? The bucks. No bucks, no Buck Rogers. The Right Stuff and Project Mercury. Oh, thank you, Chris. On top of our Las Vegas event, where on the East Coast would you like to see your favorite Trek stars in the coming months? Well, I guess Chicago is. I had just heard that Chicago was getting big consideration. This is yes, yeah. Well, I think what that means is they've opened it up. They're not just or maybe they're still thinking Chicago, but they're going to see. Well, I mean, and why not? Why not? That's very true. We'll be into phase 4 or 5 if you count the Kelvin movies for anything. They were there. They just didn't contribute much, but they were very much there and filled a bit. Well, there's this. Well, a movie can give way more than a show immediately. See, that's the thing. And movie metrics are still on the old, here's what we spent, here's what we sell in tickets. Now, you might do streaming deals and all that. That's what they're still sorting. But the old movie model is still fairly intact. The TV model is what's been totally disrupted. But you're not going to get Star Trek the way you want Star Trek. If we go back to the teens again, where you're waiting for 2 hours every 2 years. Now, if they step it up and they give you 2 hours every year somehow, there's that. But okay. R.I.P. Bob Burns. Yeah. Yeah. Glenn, this is what I always say. If you're on Facebook, you're only seeing Facebook comments. Even the Twitchers see everything. But YouTube, you're going to see everything. Oh, YouTubes have been notorious for screwing up live feeds to me. I'm sorry. There you go. Monetized view numbers happened. We can only hope, Astral. They might do it on Star Trek Day, or they might take advantage of an even bigger stage with more eyeballs watching, including media, including mainstream media, and do it at San Diego or New York, depending. Yes, I know. We know this now. 10 years ago, we didn't get this. But yeah, there have been 47, negativity magnet algorithm explainer documentaries out now, and the effect it's having on young people, especially, and people who are wobbly on their critical thinking skills. Podcasters aren't the KKK. Oh, wait, it's no different than radio? You want to talk about how radio has been the last 40 years for untethered trash talk? At least in the great heartland of, then the fairness rule went away. Yeah, it's just a matter of numbers. If they save a little crumb for Star Trek Day, that's cool, but it's silly. It's like putting a show on Paramount Plus and expecting to do as good as a show on Netflix. Chris, I thought you were massively building your podcast numbers. How many title cards are on your niche, your row? Well, so Tachyon Pulse is the big messiah now? Come on, what have I been saying for a year? They may hire not a franchise runner, but a one at a time producer. Right. And that if they're only doing one show at a time without thinking about doing 3 or 4 or 5, then the world has changed now, and in-house means they just won't hire a vendor production company to do it. I mean, Rick Berman always had Rick Berman Productions as a shingle after 3 or 4 years, but you never saw a Rick Berman Productions title at the end of the cred, right? It was Paramount TV. So that's normal. But streaming was the new big unexplored thing, and you had people putting this together under the gun in a hurry, and they gave him, I don't say a blank check, but they gave him all this to get going, because it was a time when nobody felt like anybody knew the hell about Star Trek. And people groaned then. Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Or if they want to diversify the geography and not everything crammed at the end of a 2-lane highway in upstate New York, and maybe get it down more in a tourist destination existing, or just have it in LA and Hollywood. I don't know. But if Paramount would ever stand still long enough and take, Warner Brothers has an actual museum on their lot. I'll be interested to see what happens to that. It's interesting. It's interesting when you get down to those kind of details and those kind of levels, the attitudes. Yeah, again, many question marks. And again, it's not just what Star Trek and its fans and its makers make. You've got this whole evolving, changing world out here. You got the landscape, you got the paradigm. Transporter room Imperialis. There you go. Oh, thank you, Christoph. The splashdown video. TTLers, my Portales especially coming through. It would be a good idea if they put a bust of Archer on the museum in upstate New York as future birthplace of Archer. After all, he's meant to be born there. I know, but they never said a city. So somebody at some point is going to try to canonize something. Some future producer is going to be from a town in upstate New York and say, oh, it's Rochester. Oh, it's Buffalo. Oh, it's a small town we don't know well. Just like, Brannon made Bozeman the site of First Contact after the fact of the movie. There is no mention of Bozeman in First Contact. In fact, originally the city was that little survivors town was going to be called Resurrection City. And one of the passing titles of First Contact was called Star Trek Resurrection. So it was Resurrection, conceptually, metaphorically, resurrection, and Resurrection, the little town coming back from World War III. So somebody who works on Trek someday from that part of the country will come up with a small town and do it. Star Trek's great in 28. Paramount should just give me and all of us the option to write and sell our Star Trek books. Yeah. Okay. Doralta, there you go. I don't even remember what we were talking about there, unless you... There's also no chance the go the Star Wars route and greenlight several shows to be put on their massive combined P Plus Max platform with all those subscribers. If the dust settles on all that the way they think it would be, yeah. Yes, I would love for United to be made, even if I feel like Mike is stealing the idea I talked about 20 years ago. I have to go back now and look at all kinds of things and see what happened. I don't. Mike and I have lunch once a year, and those aren't recorded. I lost out. What? The Outcast Creative. Oh, well, thank you, sir, ma'am. Pedro, even if Strange New Worlds and even if Academy had continued, year one was not going to happen. Nobody was interested in it. Nobody. I'm just saying. It's a moot point now, yes. But had Academy been had Strange New ended and Academy been a bridge series and Kurtzman's showrunner contract not been taken, all those things could have all happened or not, and year one was dead on arrival. I'm just saying. The Dread Pirate, Paul Wesley. I hope Paul has a great career, and I hope he gets to do things. I should have. Don't know if I'm going to say something about this in another way, but we're a little slow. But we, meaning Janet, decided we were going to binge watch The Pit out of the blue a week ago. And we did. And now we're binging season 2, and we'll be in touch with the finale when it drops. And I am so blown away by Issa Briones. I mean, I feel like she was wasted in Picard. But I'm so glad for her to have something. But I hope her Picard experience and the way all the first and second season cast, aside from Michelle, just kind of were like shown the door at the end. But then the show was all over the place anyway. And boy, the books are going to be written about that one. So many people have focused on season 3 as the thing they needed, whether it's member berries or nostalgia porn. I think it's way better than, it's not nostalgia porn. It's way better than that. And Terry did a hell of a job. And Liz and Dave, and part of the saga there is they were pushing back against spending money, especially since LA is the so much costlier place to make than Toronto, and they're only doing it because that was a Patrick Stewart demand. But back to Issa Briones, I'm just so, it's amazing watching her in the pit. And I think of what little we got of her, she was able to display for Picard, and I'm so happy for her. Yeah. So I'm happy for any of the Trek actors to get to some of these clunkier corners of current Trek. I'm glad they get to show something else and go on and be there. Oh, well, basically what you're saying is instead of sticking sets in a warehouse, put them in a museum and monetize them a little bit, at least get ticket money and help pay that. Yeah. You need somebody with the power to do that and some creative vision. Yep. And not, but Paramount has been so much ownership turmoil for, well, going back to, when was it they were going to do the Hemstritch flashback with Chris Pine Kelvin movie, but they yanked it because they couldn't afford to pay them their contracts because the Chinese financiers pulled out. 2018? At least 8 years of Paramount chaos. And something like that, that's like when everything is calm, cool, collected, and you get to enjoy the fruits of civilization, not when you've been in a war footing for 8 years. Yeah. Oh, Eureka's your hometown. Humboldt County, full of mysterious history. Sasquatch is a Wookiee, Star Wars. Ah, okay. There's also Shatner saying he'd be open to his likeness being used, and there was that bit inserted on Picard season 3, and we already saw what they did with Sam Whitner. Could be. Yeah, but this, I mean, it was all scattershot stuff. And the Toyo thing had no connection to organized Trek. It was a tech demo, but it had nothing really beyond that. Right. It was, these are kind of like comments of the moment passing off. The bit about season 3 was just goofy, you know, the art guys going crazy with all those cool inside joke Easter egg signs, and one or two of them had nothing to do with the plot of the moment, but it made everybody tickle to see it. The Easter egg watchers. That's what I call the Romulan War and the founding of the Federation since the time Enterprise was being conceived. Enterprise was supposed to roll and talk about Strange New Worlds rolling into year 1. Enterprise was supposed to roll into the Romulan War. Maybe do the war as a movie to have a better budget for it rather than taking care of it on series TV. But yeah. Oh, Astral, you're so in the now. I said a year ago, when people say new Trek, I'm thinking what's happening next. My head's been there forever. It's hard to think. I mean, it's sad, but how are they going to promote these 26 hours in 2 series? How do you promote a dead show's, corpse on display? And I don't mean to be mean. What do you do when one of these series, what do you do when the Academy second season blows up and people are like, you canceled this? Maybe not, but it'll be amazingly weird, awkward, funny, and sad if and when that does. Okay, Pedro. I've been mad for 20 or 30 years that this corner of Trek has not been explored. Thank you, Duralto. Missed it by that much, Chief. There you go. What do you think? No more Kirk, Spock, McCoy, or any of the original crew of the Enterprise. We have TOS. We don't need to keep reinventing our beloved crew. New adventures, new exploration, please. Yeah. There's so many. There's so many errors. Someday I'm going to do a chalkboard and go, why do we keep like punching through this one hole and this other hole and now this hole when you've got a whole sandbox here? Keep digging a hole in one place and another little hole and then another little hole. Okay, 4 holes. You still want at least one series about the eras when the... Thank you. And that's what Section 31 would have been. Section 31 was set in the 20... In the 22... No, in the... Yeah. In the 2430s. 2330s. Section 31 was set in the 2330s. Yeah, Glenn, that's what I've said for ages. And I'm not saying I'm losing out on section. I'm just saying that would have actually been in that time period. And I know the art staff initially was excited to do it. And then the series got collapsed down to a movie. Yeah. Well, of course he's making cryptic tweets. That's how you keep people like you paying attention. Much less the new studio owners that they're dancing for. Well, there's a difference between, prequel, it's all in the future. To me, I've said it so many billion times. It's just a corner that I haven't gone to explore yet. It's like doing a dungeon quest and you're halfway through, but you skipped a lot of rooms and you can go over here, but people say, oh, I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. Well, they're all unexplored. Yeah. Yeah, don't waste your ideas on social media, Pedro, but you need to have some backing and some credibility. Or, yeah, no one's going to take you seriously. But not you. I mean, anybody. You have to have some kind of connection into the world or backing or partner or something if you don't. I have this opinion too. I think history is going to show that other eddies and currents swept this era of Star Trek in different directions. Yeah. Maybe, but do we know, Gerhardt? Do we know what those numbers were actually dependably? See, if there's internal Paramount numbers that they would release, but talking about the digital Nielsen, streaming Nielsens have been mocked and ridiculed for ages, which is why originally Parrot Analytics came up and other people. And now to see the Nielsen's, I mentioned this at the panel from WonderCon that the video is up now. I was not aware that just in the last month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, people have been attacking the digital streaming Nielsen's for all these different reasons, for lack of credibility, lack of their metric and their algorithm and their formula, and just the process that they use has holes in it, and people attacking it for different ways, including the NFL. Because a lot of us aren't happy with not the actors, but the casting. It's just so off. Scotty's supposed to be older than Kirk by 10 years. Scotty and McCoy are supposed to be 10 years older than Kirk. It's just weird. It's just weird. I'm sorry. This is true, Pedro. The point of this, part of this mystery is, what are they going to do? Are they going to be great stewards or horrible stewards? Because people used to gripe about Rick, and you had the old meme about will destroy franchise, like the two beggars, will destroy franchise for food. And it's like, be careful. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. And we're back at that situation again. Oh, you guys, it's 2:15. Season 3 of Strange New World still made the... Okay, for what it's worth, there is that, yeah. I think everybody can agree. Is there anyone who says, gosh, the streaming model is the best thing that ever happened to Star Trek? Has anyone ever said that? No, I don't think so. What? Well, there's this. And what did you waste 10 years for? You're not waiting, you're wasting. You wasted the money. You wasted people's ability to pay. Yeah, we've come around to that. Yeah. But maybe if all the episodes of series weren't spending $8 or $10 million per episode. We pay half as much for streaming as cable, and we do selective streaming too. We do Hulu 1 month a year to watch only murders and anything else we want to. Hey, Chelly. Yes, agreed. That's part of the equation. It's not like, boycott this food or this store. The scale is different. Well, it's not a zero-sum game, but you have like better Trek gets better numbers than lesser Trek. To go zero just signals, in this crowded Hollywood world, this is what I said in 2017. If you boycott the show, then people go, oh, well, they just go away from Trek for 10 years. It's not like we'll get you a better one in 2 years. Hold on. They just go away from it. There's plenty of other choices. This is what I'm saying. You watch it, but then you constantly, you critique, you do reviews. You have people with respect talk about what's wrong about it. But if you just have a boycott and walk away, then they go, okay, fine. We'll come back to this in 10 years and try again. It's not a nuance that it may be a little better than it was 10 years ago for that. The geeks may have won and influenced a little bit, but look at all the other platforms and IPs. It doesn't seem to be. You're just really lucky when you stumble into a situation where all the gears are turning and the right people are in the right places. Well, now this could be true, but I still think streaming model, what, on Netflix, you're going to have more than 10 episodes a season? Don't think so. But I'm glad we've got this. See, we're talking about original. Yes, indeed. DS9 especially, and Voyager and Enterprise falling off. But that's reruns, not original, and they're talking original programming. You think? Okay, I'm getting lost in some of these threads, guys. This is true. Talk about numbers. We haven't talked about this enough yet. If they actually go through and they actually combine into one, it would be it'd be 3 times the base. And how big of the pie of all streamers, the potential streaming pie, a much bigger share of that pie. Of course, they have other franchises to make a splash with as well. But if there is a time to push a new series with a new producer in charge of a series, that would be it. That would be it. Well, Pedro, you're acting like eating in restaurants, there's many choices. And you don't have many choices with Trek. You have one owner. That's kind of the problem with that comparison. Yeah, you can get up and go next door. It's food. If you like Chinese and there's 2 Chinese places in your town and they're both bad, do you get up and drive to the next town? Maybe so. Or you just eat the bad Chinese in your town, if that's really what you like. And you might bitch at them the whole time you're in there. Well, see, Producers was not one of the genre Producers was like his original stuff, like the 12 Chairs, the Russian thing, the Tsarist Russian era thing. The 12 Chairs, is that what it was called? Well, yeah, childish, but my thing is this really coalesced for me when I saw a Klingon fan talking to Mary and he's passed. Mary Chieffo at the creation before Discovery aired, and he was just heartfeltedly begging not to ruin the Klingon way that he knew after all the talk about the changed Klingons. And what came across to me was when you love something so much and it's threatened, you might be depressed or scared, but eventually your emotions go to anger. And that explains that percentage of fandom. Some people jump there right away before they progress through the other stages, but no, I get it. It's your rational has checked out, depending on how much you feel threatened. And it's like, just a TV show. Well, if that's meant a lot to you in your life, that's where it goes. Yeah. Your timeline guess 3 Star Trek seasons till the end of 2027. Yeah. 10, 10, and 6. 26 hours. Which is weird. 26 hours used to be 1 season. Well, there's been a movie. You mean a second movie announced? Or more details, hard and fast details announced for the one? I lost you there, Melanie. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is. Okay, Astral, I'm seeing your timeline play out here. Well, you're going to have a show up and done and out in a year? Could be. It can be done. It just doesn't seem to be the model. Yes, indeed, Rose. Some of them are out. I go by hours and need to recalibrate, but you can talk episodes, although think how many of those are half hours or even 15 minutes from the short treks. It's a Trek show by. Oh my God, how have we got this? Guys, I can't get all the way through this chat. What happened to everybody today? Good Lord. Oh, I got you, though. I got you. I got you. That will make nobody happy. I'm just saying. Guys, I cannot believe I'm going to have to, guys, we're at like 2.5 hours and the chat has blown up here. This is why I lost the first 10 minutes right out of the gate. Well, he's not alone. Rob Burnett is not going to be in charge of the IP. That would be interesting. Oh, bless you all. Oh, bless you all. Thank you, Christoph. Stop the chat. I appreciate that, Narda. Wow, guys, I have to. Oh my gosh. Is anybody new here today that I have not seen chatting? Guys, I can't wade through today. We'll be here another half hour at least. Yeah, guys, I hate to do this. You know that I never. Okay, wow, we're just to there. I thought we were way past this. Oh my gosh. Well, until we don't know what the new Paramount owners do or don't do or like, or how much power they delegate to whoever might be running things. Again, there's a difference between design and cinematography. But oh my gosh, you guys, I'm glad everybody came to talk today, but lordy, lordy. Are most of the people talking European? Why don't you guys join Portal 47 and get in with the Euros? Maybe. Hang in there. Hang in there. Yeah. Hi, David. I don't know that I've seen you pop up before yet today, but thank you, and thank you for being in. Yeah, that's a line from one of the early astronauts said one of the original 7. It's quoted by Tom Wolfe and Wright stuff, and then it's in the movie. Woof, 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 woof. Yes, all you Europeans who are hitting midnight or later. Did we get a new shift come in? Really? Okay. Did I just stumble into the overnighters club today? Is that what happened? My goodness, guys. Good Lord. Yeah, I hope we can be Mike McMahon too. That would be an interesting book for many reasons, David. Oh, it has? Don't take my childhood away from me. Blame Fred Freiberger. Hello, Mark. Thanks for joining us. Is this your first time? I think it's a lot more nuanced than that, but yeah. Thank you, Ken Mitchell. I just went blank for a second. Out of sight, out of mind, sadly. Yeah, that what you call it? Very communicative. I think we had a lot of new a lot of new folks saying a lot of things today, apparently. Not what I was talking about, but Josh, is this your first chat? Okay, well you joined my Patreon for a while back. Yeah, it's all your fault, Josh. And forgive me if you go by Joshua. I rounding off for Josh. Okay, there we go. Now we're there. Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see Kestra back. That actress was so good. It's screaming internally. Yeah. Oh, you guys, listen, thanks a lot. Just follow me on the socials. You know what to do, right? Everybody watching this live and or later. If you are watching later and this is still part of it, it probably isn't though. Trek Files on hiatus. We'll be back in May. Look forward to some awesome new shows with some great guest stars this year and this half year. And the whole 14 other seasons are still up there. TreklandTreks.com for when you are in SoCal and want to have your own customized away mission when you're headed this way and you have a spare day. Get a hold of me up front, and we will plan out a day for you that will be awesome. Totally in my hands, all set up for you to have the best gosh darndest Star Trek memory day around Southern Cal you could possibly have. How unique. How unique. Again, a flash on thanking all of our TTLers and my live wires. If you'd like to help out and jump in on my Patreon, it's very simple. It's $5-10 a month. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. I'm just feeding everybody over here from the side. Again, look up Yuri's Night. If you feel like you can put one on in your burg with whatever assets group you have to work with next year, next April, that would be awesome. You can bring whatever your local resources are from your university, your museums, what have you. It's a great night. That's the goal, is to have little Yuri's Nights all over the place. And once more, if you're thinking about jumping in for the big multi-day set locations tour, locations, that is, not on stages, locations, check out geeknationtours.com. Just saying, amid all the changes going on with Paramount, something may be going on with remodeling at the Paramount lot. It may not always be the pristine exact look that 95% of it has, for picking out the locations from the original series and Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise years that are still there right now and have been, and we enjoy seeing. May not be so much longer if they start remodeling the lot, since if they wind up with both Paramount and Warner's. We'll see. Gang, that's all for today. My gosh, we got caught up on 4 weeks of guests, I guess. People got to get some talking out of the system. And we will be back next Tuesday. Hopefully we're all still intact. Hang on to some of that Artemis joy through all the crap going on. And we will see you next week. Until then, please, 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 stay healthy. Do all the things. I got my shingles shot finally last week, and I have never had a flu shot before, but a pneumonia shot before, but made sense. Please do all the things and stay awoke. Check the sources. It's getting harder to do that. The AI slop is going to drown us all if we don't watch out. But much less the burying of history and those who got no credit. And trek well, everybody. In short, we'll see you next week.